I bet a lot of you clicked on this video expecting me to trash The Evil Within as a ripoff of Silent Hill. Not in the slightest. The Evil Within is a fantastic game and wholly original in many respects. But nonetheless, I cannot help but notice what seem to be homages and odes to the Silent Hill franchise. At no point does anything approach the definition of plagiarism, however. In fact, when I observe the similarities between Silent Hill and The Evil Within, there is enough reasonable doubt preventing me from deciding whether something was inspired by Silent Hill, or if it was just a coincidence. Today, I would like to elucidate a few of those similarities, but unlike my previous videos where I argue in favor of a thesis, this video will be more like a meditation. Whether or not there is a connection will be for you to decide. Needless to say, there are spoilers ahead. In case the thumbnail wasn't a giveaway, the main focus of this video was originally going to be the similarities between the Keeper and Pyramid Head. However, that focus has expanded thanks to help I received from a friend of mine named Necrotoxin. When I suspected a potential connection to Silent Hill beyond these two monsters, she helped confirm those suspicions by pointing to the relevant documents and Wikipedia pages. Without her, this video would not have been possible, so please go and check out her YouTube channel, which I will link in the description. First of all, when I was gathering information on the characters in The Evil Within, I looked at the various character models the game provides. It was when I was looking at the character model for Ruvik and noticed how his entire body was immolated that a thought popped into my head. Just like Alessa. The main antagonist, or semi-antagonist of Silent Hill, depending on how you look at it, is a girl named Alessa. She too had her body immolated. From this starting point, the similarities lined up between the two characters like stars in the sky. Alessa's mother, Dahlia, was a religious fanatic that imposed her religion on her daughter. Ruvik's father, Ernesto, was also a religious fanatic that tried to impose his religion on his son. In addition, the religious cults in both games had a serious hold on the towns they were situated in. The most relevant similarity, however, is how both characters sought revenge for their immolation. In Alessa's case, the immolation she suffered exacerbated her psychic tendencies. As a result, the products of her subconscious mind took form in real life. In Ruvik's case, I will grant that his original intention wasn't to seek revenge by manifesting the products of his mind, rather it was to create a false reality where he could be with his deceased sister. However, when Ruvik was killed by Mobius and his brain was used as the core for the stem system, he sought to kill anybody that was hooked up to it. His revenge took the same form as Alessa's, by giving his vengeful thoughts quote-unquote physical form. Now, like I said before, these are merely similarities. The idea of a character suffering a horrible fate and seeking revenge is not exclusive to the Silent Hill franchise. There is enough reasonable doubt in play here to render these congruities of plot, characters, and monsters as mere coincidence. Plus, the notion of giving physical form to one's thoughts was done before Silent Hill hit the video game scene. Namely with the 1995 point-and-click adventure game, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Yet it is the alluded to example of the Keeper and Pyramid Head that makes it impossible to dismiss these observations outright. I'm not just referring to the fact that both characters have their head covered. Both are drenched in blood, both wear gloves, both wear an apron, depending on which version of Pyramid Head you are looking at, and both carry an oversized weapon or implement. For Pyramid Head, it's the Great Knife. For the Keeper, it's usually the hammer and the big bag of human heads he carries behind him. Although, if you play the DLC, the creature known as the Dark Keeper carries a giant knife as well. And speaking of the DLC, the name of it is the Executioner, which of course refers to the Keeper. In regards to Pyramid Head, he takes the form of an executioner of times past. And if that wasn't enough, let me add one last tidbit. One of the most popular videos I've done on this channel is titled Who Pyramid Head Is. In that video, I argue that Pyramid Head is the physical manifestation of the Freudian id. specifically James Sunderland's Freudian id. In case you don't know what the id is, it is the part of the human psyche that contains the darkest parts of ourselves that we don't want to confront, our desires, impulses, and aggression. When I suggested that Pyramid Head is, in fact, the id taken physical form, the vast majority of people seem to agree with this interpretation. As for what this has to do with the Keeper, let's look at his description in the model viewer. Quote, "A creature created from a blend of Ruvik's final memories before he was dismembered and his fury at having his research stolen from his safe." When you combine the fact that Ruvik's research was conducted using highly unethical means, and the outcome of that research was the horror of the STEM world, the storing of these dark contents in a safe is symbolic of repressing the dark parts of one's personality into one's unconscious mind, into one's id. Now granted, some people might argue that he was merely storing the research there to prevent it from being stolen. I'd argue that in a civilized society, this type of research is not the kind to be discussed openly or left lying around. With all of this being said, we must now discuss whether the developers of The Evil Within were conscious of these similarities while making the game. It's actually really hard to say. You know, it's not usual for people to argue against their own theses, but I will do so for the sake of truth. Despite the similarities I mentioned, everything else about Silent Hill and The Evil Within seem distinct from one another. Not to mention that the overall tone of The Evil Within seems much more fantastical and stylish than anything we see in the original Silent Hill games. But like I have already demonstrated, there is enough there to warrant a discussion. I would very much like to hear your opinions on this matter in the comments section below. But before we begin that discussion, I would like to put my own theory forward about the nature of these similarities. In order to set up my theory, I must reference another game that shares striking similarities to Silent Hill's concepts. Back in August of 2019, I did another comparative essay between Silent Hill and a game called Hellblade. Spoiler alert for those who have not played what is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated games of the last 5 years. The monsters and environments in Hellblade, like with Silent Hill and The Evil Within, are physical manifestations of a character's thoughts. In Hellblade, the monsters are the developers' takes on the gods of Norse mythology, but the forms they take are conditioned by the thoughts of the main character Senua. One of the Norse gods she comes into contact with is named Surt. I don't even need to say anything. I just need to put Surt side by side with Pyramid Head and the Keeper. What is this? Why do these characters look so similar? Did both Jeff Goslin of Ninja Theory and Akumi Nakamura, formerly of Tango Gameworks, consciously pay homage to Pyramid Head with their respective characters? I sincerely don't know. It's really tough to say. Some of you might be already convinced that this is all on purpose, but it's really not that easy. Think about it. Are we ready to say that from now on, every bad guy whose head is covered is undeniably an ode to Pyramid Head? I'm certainly not. In fact, I think it's a lot more interesting to say that the similarities to Pyramid Head were unconsciously made. Now what do I mean by that? Well, think of it this way. There is something about him that haunts our collective imagination. Pyramid Head is widely recognized as one of the greatest villains in not just the video game medium, but in the broader realm of horror. 20 years after his first appearance and roughly a decade since the last Silent Hill game, millions of people are still enraptured with this monster. If I were to guess why this is the case, I believe it is because Pyramid Head is an archetypal representation. If one were to give physical form to the darkest parts of the human psyche and do it in the best possible way, it seems that Pyramid Head is the closest we have come. There is something deep in our collective unconscious that recognizes this. Human beings have consciously or unconsciously worshipped archetypal representations for thousands of years. And when I say worship, I mean in both the extreme and loose sense. If one were to best represent a wise old man using fictional characters, there are many that will default to Gandalf or Dumbledore. A simple Google search of wise old man supports this assertion. In regards to religion, several religions have done bewildering things to give their gods archetypal representation. The Gnostics displayed their highest god, Abraxas, with a rooster's head and snakes for feet. As for whether or not the creators of these characters and gods knew that they were creating these archetypal representations, well, it depends on what you mean by know. Were they doing it consciously or unconsciously? Did Masahiro Ito know what he was doing when he put a pyramid on this executioner's head? Or did he have this unconscious intuition that something about what he created would be well received? Something about covering a villain's face with a pyramid would work. I think it is safer and possibly more accurate to say that Nakamura and Goslin didn't consciously pay homage to Pyramid Head when creating their respective characters. I think they had the same unconscious intuition that Ito did when he made Pyramid Head, that there is something about this depiction of a masculine, bloodied, unidentifiable, and violent force of nature that is universally terrifying. What it seems that Ito did, unconsciously, was set the archetypal standard when it comes to representing the darkest part of the human mind as a person. Because it is archetypal, when Nakamura and Goslin tried to do something similar, they couldn't move beyond that archetypal standard. Rather, they unconsciously agreed that for now, this is probably as good as it gets. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks again to Necrotoxin for helping me with the script for this video. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a like, that really helps me out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you want to see more videos like this in the near future. Also, if you want to support the work I'm doing here, please consider going over to my Subscribestar page. Depending on how much you donate, you will receive different rewards, such as a private Minecraft server, access to movie night, my gamer tags, and much more. If you don't have the financial means, that's totally cool. Really, the best thing you can do is just share this video around, maybe with a fellow horror fan. That helps me out more than you can ever know. Until next time, just remember, stay yellow.